Hello people, welcome back to another weekly market update from Zylostar.
Geopolitical tensions in the Middle East kept oil prices high. Financial markets were mixed due to stronger jobs data, and the AI investment boom continued.
Markets now are highly looking for the anticipated SpaceX IPO to be launched. However, a lot of analysts are warning that investors are buying these AI-related stocks due to the rally, not because these companies are worth buying their shares. Let's see how that's looking on charts. All right, everyone, here we are kicking off our weekly market outlooks on the technical side with your favorite analyst, Samir Raslan. To start this off with gold. Gold, from one point of view, is moving within a descending triangle, as we can see here. Okay, so usually in such pattern, we should expect gold to move up before it continues a more of a bearish movement. However, if we take a wider look on gold, as I had showed you guys 2 weeks ago, you can see it now on the chart, we can see that gold was moving within 3 descending channels or 3 downtrends. I told you guys this is a bullish pattern that should push gold upside, which is what caused this candle to move up, a retracement to fill this FVG and this pattern. And I also had highlighted that this demand and the lower bracket of this trend is what most likely gold is going to be targeting, and this is exactly what happened on Friday, even before Friday, actually, in Wednesday and Thursday. So usually when a market is at a lower bracket, we can expect market to go up before a continuation to the downside, to go up to the upper bracket. However, the situation now is not the same, in my point of view. So usually when an asset is at a lower bracket of a downtrend and at demand, we should see some sort of backward movement to the opposing direction. In this case, it's movement to the upside to the other bracket of the trend. However, this might not be the case with gold right now. The reason for that, actually, we have a lot of reasons, fundamentals and technicals, and I don't want to dive in a lot of details. So momentum speaks something, and also volume speaks a lot. And we can see that bearish sentiment is dominating right now on gold. So we might actually see a continuation. This pattern in volume and in charts can actually cause or result in a breakdown below this lower bracket on gold, and we can expect a continuation for further down movement on gold, exactly as I had told you guys earlier. So going to US 100. So as we can see, that US 100 had moved impulsively to the downside, and if we take a wider look, as I have highlighted to you guys earlier in previous videos, like 2 videos back, and I told you be very cautious about being long on US 100 because a big crash is more likely to come actually anytime soon. This is what we see here, a very large red candle moving on US 100 solid to this little support here. So from here we might see some small movement to the upside before a continuation to the downside, but this is the case on US 100. I am very bearish on this asset. You want to go for a short position, be cautious about your risk management, but that's the direction I would be willing to go for trading this asset. Of course, it's not a financial advice, but it is what it is. So this is about US 100. How many reasons do you guys need to listen to me? Okay, so going into EURUSD, we can see that because of the bullish sentiment on the United States dollar, actually that was due to the positive data that was published Friday. NFP and unemployment rate is actually the same as it is, but NFP is way better than was previously. So we can see a strong spike down on EURUSD, which is a bullish movement on gold. Now from here, we can expect EURUSD to make a retracement to this resistance before a possible continuation to the downside, which is what might happen, actually most likely to happen on this asset on a weekly time scale. Either ways, I never advocate for trading Forex for longer than a day, unless if you're going for exotic pairs. So EURUSD, you can find a lot of good opportunities on a daily time scale. Okay, that's about EURUSD. Going into Bitcoin, as I had highlighted, guys, once these new strategies be implemented in the economy, we will see bearish movement on crypto before positive movements to come later on. So this is exactly what we're having. The Bitcoin actually crashed to the downside, reaching 60,000. Now, this is let's say, a demanded price, what I'm going to say. The thing is though, I still believe that Bitcoin is a great investment for a long time period, and 61,000, the price it is right now at, is a very attractive price. However, due to volume, momentum, and also candle formation, market structure, we're seeing that it is just crashing. Actually, the CEO of MSTR is one of the key factors why the sentiment on Bitcoin is bearish, and there's a huge factor that is causing this bearish sentiment on Bitcoin and crypto in general. And actually it is because some American crypto trading platforms has started making restrictions and follow where money is flowing basically in these wallets. This is actually to apply pressure on Iranian investors, or basically who are using crypto to transfer funds here and there. So this is another tactic, we can say, to pressure upon the geopolitical situation between US and Iran. All right, so Bitcoin might continue being bearish, and this is most likely the case. However, it is still attractive for an investment, regardless if it goes down. I would prefer if you take these trades on a shorter period, on a daily time scale, rather than a weekly time scale, because movements can be very impulsive on Bitcoin for the next week to come. So this is about Bitcoin. Looking at Nifty 50, also, as I had highlighted in the previous week, we are seeing Nifty 50 to move within a downtrend, and we expected the price to fall to the lower bracket of that on this demand. So from here, we can expect the market to move to the upside, and continue consolidating and moving. So we can expect the price to continue moving within the brackets of this downtrend. This is about Nifty 50 for the upcoming week.
Thank you, Samir, for sharing your amazing analysis. Here is Amir, I'm a Master of Finance and Investment student in UK and also financial market analyst at Zylostar. Last week, Donald Trump, Iran, and the clashes accelerated to a very high level. And also, from the other hand, semiconductor was the only reason to keep the hope in the financial market. Let's have a look. Great, everyone. Welcome back to the weekly market update hosted by Zylostar. Last week, geopolitical tensions and semiconductors was the main reason of the volatility in the financial markets, as the semiconductors was the only one which was pushing the market a little bit higher, and from the other side, geopolitical tensions was the main reason to be like a hammer on the market. First of all, I want to jump into the last week and started with the economic indicators. In the United States, the US services sector grew faster in May, with business activity and new orders strengthening, highlighting continued resilience in the economy. However, inflation pressures rose to their highest level since 2022 as energy costs increased, while hiring remained weak in the US for the services sector, as we got this information from the latest PMI number. Meanwhile, we also got the US PMI for the manufacturing activity, as it accelerated in May, with the ISM PMI manufacturing rising to 54, its highest level since May 2022, driven by stronger new orders and the production in the region. Last week, also, the NFP was released, the most important indicator to track the labor market in the United States. As you can see here, the unemployment rate remained at 4.3%, but the non-farm payroll increased by 174, and worth mentioning, the previous numbers also revised up to 179. It all shows a strength in the labor market for the country. For the labor market, demand in the private sector which is the ADP, was another sign of a stable labor market in the United States, as the ADP numbers released by 122. And also we got a comment from Neela Richardson, chief economist from ADP, who said hiring was more broad-based in May than we have seen in the last few years. The labor market continues to show sustained momentum going into the summer hiring season. In the Canada, unemployment rate dropped to 6.6 from the previous number, which was 6.9, and also the employment change released by 87.8 thousand, which was absolutely bigger than the previous period. And in Australia, GDP numbers, which is the best one to track the strength of economy in general, released by 0.3%, lower than expectations, and also the previous period revised up. Now let's have a look to the earnings and also the geopolitics tensions. Tension at the Middle East has been accelerated as the US and Iran clashes increased, and these two countries now are trading missiles and drones all the time, as Iran also attacked some US bases in the Kuwait, Bahrain and Qatar, and US also retaliated by attacking Iran sites in the Persian Gulf. From the other side, the tensions between Russia and Ukraine increased to a very serious level as the Ukraine attacked to a very important port of the Russia last week. Now let's have a look to the upcoming week. Next week is gonna be another important week as we are gonna receive the latest update for the two central banks named Bank of Canada and European Central Bank, and let's see whether they want to change the interest rate or not. Also, the CPI number plus the PPI will be released for the next week in the United States, and also worth mentioning, the GDP for the Great British Pound will be released eventually on Friday, 12th of June. Stay tuned with Zylostar and see you next week.
Thank you for watching. Stay tuned for upcoming updates.